Got 2 points to make. How to get out of all the debt and 7 rentals paid off in a decade, and also how the education can effectively become free for you. So pay attention. We're going to use a typical household scenario in America where someone's making $5,000 a month and they are told, hey, you need to put that into your checking account, put that into your savings account. And I've always wondered why, where did that come from? And we'll get into that in a sec. So when this homeowner puts their $5,000 into their checking account, they're going to push $1,200 out for their home loan. This is a $200,000 mortgage at 6% for 30 years is a $1,200 a month payment. They also have a car payment for $600 a month at 6% and a credit card payment. The balance on a typical home right now, according to nerdwallet.com, the typical credit card holder has a balance of $12,000 at 21%. Now, guys, let me ask you this. If you make the minimum payment on 21%, when will you have this credit card paid off? It's going to be the better part of a decade. So we've got to understand the tools that we're working with. Now, the other thing this household is going to do is they have a budget for their lifestyle, right? This is groceries and clothes, and this is dining and entertainment and movies and gifts and charity, right? So we got a lifestyle that we got to take care of. Now, there's a lot of financial books and workshops and ideas out there, and I dare say that 99 out of 100 of those books and ideas, when talking about getting out of debt, all they say is cut out lifestyle. Look, you cut out lifestyle and you invest the difference in a mutual fund that gets a 12% return forever, then in 50 years you can retire. They keep saying cut out lifestyle, cut out lifestyle. Right? What are you doing having 4 meals a day? If you're in debt, you should be doing 2 meals a day. Not only that, they should be rice and beans. You should cut up those credit cards, and you should. And the advice is not for creating actual progress. All it is a short-term restriction, and people hate it. And then they go, well, you know, before I was in debt, but at least I could go have some ice cream, and now I can't even have ice cream. I'm still in debt. So those kind of programs, that kind of advice doesn't really work. It doesn't work financially speaking, and it doesn't work for the human because we want to be motivated to stick to a program. And cutting out all the fun stuff, that's it's not motivating and definitely not necessary. Okay, now the remaining amount, this $1,400, could go to the savings account. Some people will keep building up their savings, and there's a challenge with that because savings accounts right now are paying out 0.1, 0.5. If you put your money in a 5-year CD savings account type, you could get 1.9% interest on your money. But the challenge is simple math. If we put money in our savings account and it grows at 1%, but inflation is 5%, we are losing 4%. No doubt about it. There's no emotion to it. It's just math. Savings is for, the savings is losing. Savings is losing. We've got to find a better way. So for some of you in this scenario, if you were to try to duplicate, you would be redirecting savings. What I did was understand that my money was being confiscated in taxes, and that $1,400 equivalent for my world, that money in taxes, instead of waiting for 12 months for me to get a refund because I overpaid the government, instead of doing that, I adjusted it now so that I could start using that cash to get out of debt instead of waiting a year to get a refund because I got a bunch of tax write-offs. So I adjusted it and redirected that money. But for now, this household, they have $5,000 in, and then they had push all the money out, right? Mortgage, car, credit card, lifestyle, savings, or taxes. So $5,000 in, $5,000 out. We got a cash flow of $0. We got a house of cards. We got a dangerous situation. And if people are relying on you and you're in this situation, it could be even worse. So here, what we want to do is we want to teach you ideas and concepts for how to better yourself, better your life, better your progress, help be a bigger impact on your family. And if you're having 5,000 in, 5,000 out, if your cash flow is zero, you're not much help. If there's an emergency, how are you going to help? What if the emergency happens to you? You see what I mean? So let's be thinking about this critically. Speaking of critical thinking, is this a true statement? Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention to the screen. 32 degrees. Is this the freezing point of fresh water at sea level? Is this a true statement? Some people say yes, some people say no, some people hesitate. Is this a true statement? No, this is not a true statement. Is this a true statement? 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius. Is this the freezing point of water? It is. This is a true statement. Now, what had happened to the people who answered when they first saw this is they weren't thinking about the scale. Now, let me ask you this. 32 degrees or 1 degree? Which one's hotter? Well, in case you guys didn't know, 1 degree Celsius is hotter than 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So let me ask you this. Which one costs more? 21 or 6? Well, the challenge is we don't know. Or at least with the degrees, we have a scale telling us Fahrenheit or Celsius. But on percentages, there is no scale afterwards to tell us what's being done. And so the challenge is you have to go do math. You got to do an equation and figure out which one's more expensive, the 21 or the 6. So let's jump into that. I'm going to show you guys how, like I said, to get out of the debt, get the house paid off free. So here we go. If 5,000 comes in and the 5,000 goes out, what if we change one thing? Let's first take a look at the different bank products that we're dealing with. The first one is a loan, amortized loans. So amortized means front-loaded interest. It means there's a calculation spread out over a period of months, and it means that when you make a payment, you cannot access that cash. It is one-directional money. It just goes, it just goes, it just goes. It's one-directional money. And what direction do you think it's flowing to? It's flowing to the bank. Now, lines, on the other hand, are simple interest. Simple, simple, simple. And what happens is the money can flow in and out, in and out, in and out, just like a checking account. So for some of you, you're still battling with this idea of, oh, I don't know about lines. I'd rather just use my checking account. But you already operate your checking account like you would operate a line. You put money in and you pay your bills out of it. What happens is you get attached to this interest rate and get all freaked out about it, but you're not counting the cost. So let me challenge your idea for just a little bit. Pay attention and see if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Okay, now this is a schedule, a payment schedule for an amortized loan. The same one we were talking about here. 30 years, 6% on $200,000 means $1,200 a month comes out. Now look at the first part of this. When we make our first payment, payment 1 of $1,200, $250 is interest or principal and $950 is interest. Does that look like 6% to you? Now on the last payment we get the inverse of this schedule. But if you look right above the 20-year mark when the two lines are crossing, see the orange line represents the bank's profit. And the blue line represents your profit as the homeowner. And when each payment is made over the decades, incrementally, you will get to where your payment equals out and you get exactly what the bank gets, and then it'll switch. But before that, banks want to stop you about right here on the 5-year mark. You either sell your house and buy a new one, you refinance. But people get stuck in this mess of a bank product right here. Okay, now we got to count the cost. You got to count the cost. Look at the bank's profit and look at your profit. That's over 200% interest. take a snapshot at 4 years, 48 payments. If we have $1,200 leave our pocket 48 times, that means $57,000 was paid. Now, if you pay someone $57,000 and they say, we'll count 12 of it, are you going to continue to do a banking relationship with that person? It's just that we don't count the cost. $45,000 just in interest. Bank profit. That's the bank profit. The bank's profit is 3 times, sometimes 4 times more than yours for the first 5 years. And people will justify that and say, oh, well, at the end of the 30 years, it flips in my profit. But how many people do you know go 30 years? They don't. They get roped in. They get tricked. They get marketed to do things like a refinance. And this is what a refinance sounds like. It says, hey, guys, why don't you come on in for a refinance? You've been paying on time. And if you refinance today, you could save $280 a month. You could save $310 a month. And that's the trap. Fell for it. See, if your brain is calculating by the month, well, the bank's already made a bank product that by the month they get double the profit. You gotta be paying more attention in this. Okay, don't fall for the refinance. Do the math. Let's do the math. Now, from a cash flow perspective, when you make your loan payments, 100% of the cash flow is gone as soon as you make that payment. But on your lines, anything minus the interest is still available for you. If you got 0% interest lines, it's all available for you. If you got a 10% interest line, then 90% of your payment is still accessible cash. But not on a loan. As soon as you write it, it's gone forever. So there's a couple rules. Rule number 1, lines are better than loans. Rule number 2, the employee mindset looks at cash as currency, where the wealthy mindset looks at cash as velocity. What does that mean? Well, let's go back to our scenario. And if we were to look at cash as currency, this is what we would do. But if we were to look at cash as velocity, we might change what we're doing. So watch this. What if we take the $5,000 and put all of it on the line instead of allocating $600 of cash to feed and sustain the line, right? Buy us another month. What if we put the whole $5,000 in? What that would do is it would eliminate this $600 a month cash outlay to the credit card. It'd get rid of it. The other thing we're going to do is redirect the savings account or the taxation. We're going to adjust it or delay it so that we can use this strategy. It's our money. We can get into taxes later on, but ultimately speaking, the government's supposed to send you a tax bill of what you owe, not you pay in over and above what you owe, and then later they give you a refund. It doesn't work like that. If you want to be financially savvy, you don't give 0% interest loans and over loans so that they can pay you back a year later. It doesn't. Just critically think about this stuff. That's all we're here to do, is challenge your paradigm so that you make a change. So in this scenario, if we make that change, we push the $5,000 onto the line with that $600 free up plus reallocating the savings or the taxation to this strategy. What happens is we now have $2,000 in cash flow. So when the income comes in, $5,000, only $3,000 goes out for the mortgage, for the car, and for lifestyle. So by the end of the month, this is a new balance. What we'll do is we'll just continue on. Now, the beautiful part of the program is if there's an emergency, you're able to handle it because the cash that you've been paying towards your debts is still accessible. What we talked about with lines versus loans, that money is still accessible. So as we help you get lines, there are 2 rules. 2 rules you got to follow when you are using these lines. Rule number 1 is assets only. Rule number 2 is emergencies only. These lines, these bank tools, are for assets and emergencies. You want to go travel, you want to buy a fancy car, you you want to get some furniture or whatever, what we'll do is we pay for that out of the profits of our deals, but not from the lines. Those are for assets and emergencies. Now, if you have no emergency, boom, we got this credit card paid off in 6 months. Now, the original plan, right, with the person paying $600 a month on 21% interest, the original plan, gosh, it was going to be 5, 6, 7, 10 years before that credit card paid off. Now we changed the plan. It's paid off in 6 months. Now what's cool is when you take care of your lines, not checking accounts, but lines, you get credit increases. You get extra currency, more capital, more purchase power to make better decisions. So again, assets and emergencies. If you took really good care of your checking account, right? Put money in, you took money out, everything was on time. Would they ever give you a limit increase? Would they ever give you extra currency to work with to create opportunities and protection? Would the bank do that if you took care of your checking account? No. So why are you so wrapped up in the checking account? There's so many benefits if you just understood the game plan. So here's what's cool. The credit card's paid off, paid it down to zero. Now what? What if we took $12,000 from the line and made a principal-only payment against the loan? What would happen is we'd rack up the $12,000 charge yet again, but because we now understand that cash is velocity, this is what happens. We get to pay it off again. So we'll keep doing that on a repeated basis. Now let's count the cost. What about the interest? I know some people are saying 6%, 21%. Come on. It's a no-brainer. We're doing 6%. Well, we've already analyzed that over the first 4 years of this deal, it's going to cost $10,000 a year in interest. Oh, my goodness. It's so much interest. That's okay. But then on the credit card, it's 21%. So if you carried a balance of $12,000 at 20% for 6 months, it would cost you $1,260. But we know that because we're stair-stepping our way out, the balance was only $12,000 for 1 month. And then the balance changed the next month. It got lower the next month, the next month. So it's not $1,260. That's not the total cost. But if you were to carry it for 6 months at $12,000, it would cost $1,260. So even then, the interest charge is pennies compared to what the loans charge is doing. So on the house, if we just repeated this $12,000 payoff in a couple years, the house is paid off. Not 30 years, a handful of years. Now that $1,200 that was being allocated towards the loan will actually be left on the line, increasing the cash flow. That $1,200 that was going towards the loan is now going to stay on the line, increasing the cash flow and steepening the velocity curve. More cash equals more velocity. So if more cash is left on the line, the velocity curve gets steepened. It's exciting. So now we've got the house paid off. That extra $1,200 is still there. You know what we'll do? You write a check for $12,000, pay off the car. Now $600 a month is extra staying on the line. $3,800 a month. All it does is steepen the velocity curve even more. So you got to remember, this household is still making the same amount of money, $5,000 in. It's the same. They didn't get a raise. They didn't cut out lifestyle. All they did was start to understand the bank products that they were dealing with, and they got out of debt. But now they got a big problem. They're out of debt. So what if, you remember the deal that I showed you guys at the beginning with my friend Paul? We did an all-inclusive trust deed wraparound mortgage. We took over someone's property using a down payment to catch them up. So guess what? You're going to go do that same thing. Once you're out of debt, the goal is buy a rental. Buy your first rental. And we're going to teach you ways that you don't have to use your credit. Now, if you want to, great. Put 20 grand down, no problem. But if you don't have the ability to get a bunch of new mortgages this year, then you're going to have to use different strategies and tactics. No big deal. They're all legal, moral, ethical. It's easy to follow. You just have to be taught. Once you get that down payment on your rental, what are you going to do? Well, remember, each rental that we buy has cash flow. So the minimum standard, $400 a month, or don't buy it. So now the cash flow, if we add that $400 for this household, is going to go up to $4,200 a month. And what we'll do is we'll just use that cash flow, steepen the velocity curve, and pay it off even faster. So now we'll have that $20,000 paid back, and we'll keep using that same line, and we'll get the first rental paid off in 2 years. Because of the cash flow and the leverage is coming from it, that house will be paid off in 2 years. Once you have a paid-for house, you can get something called a HELOC, a home equity line of credit. Now, I've gone to banks and I've dealt with HELOCs, and bankers have a selective hearing, so to say. When you request a HELOC, sometimes they'll send you a home equity loan application. We don't want loans, we want lines. Plus, guess what? With a HELOC, there's no closing cost. With a loan, you got $2,000, $4,000, $5,000, sometimes $10,000 in closing costs. So that's why they want the lines, so they can attach financing fees, or sorry, the loans. The banks produce home equity loan applications when you request HELOCs. So just be aware, You got to be aware. Okay, so now once you have your HELOC established, which shouldn't take long, you can then write 6 $20,000 checks on 6 down payments of 6 new rentals. And each of those has cash flow of $400. So now $2,400 a month additional is coming into the household, plus the already current cash flow. Now means we're up to $6,600 a month. And guess what? That HELOC that you charged up, you wrote those 6 $20,000 checks, right? You racked up a $120,000 charge. Well, using velocity banking with this cash flow, you'll have that rental paid off in 2 years. So here's what we're saying is your house will be paid off. The cars will be paid off. You'll have 7 new assets, each producing cash flow. You won't need your job ever again. Now, what we help people do in our education and in our system, in our training, in our process, is get new lines with new limits so that they get a fresh start. They can use this stuff accurately. So here's what one of our students did. He got $30,000 at 0% interest on a line. He put his education on there plus the car. Now that car payment he was allocating, he was making a couple $100 a month payment to the car. And instead, once he wrote that $5,000 check, all that cash flow stayed on the line, getting him to pay off the line even faster. So he had his $25,000 balance paid off in 10 months because he changed how he was doing it. So anyone can do this. Doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter what background you have. You don't have to be rich to do this. You just have to understand how the tools work. Now, I know that some people at the end of a presentation like this feel like this. And they just, I don't know, they didn't follow along. Maybe they had too many challenges, the paradigm being shook up enough. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you just don't like math or money. But some people feel like this, and that's okay. If this is you, maybe you need to come back. Maybe you need to watch it again. Maybe you need to slow it down and take some notes and watch it again, because we're here to create possibilities. And so for the rest of you, you might be feeling like this. You might be feeling like, you know what? This is incredible. I want more. Tell me more. Show me more. What's the next step? I'm ready to do this. Okay? However you are. If this is you, I want to talk to you. If you're the first person, you need to watch this recording or come to a house tour or come to a workshop, or we need to meet. You need to reorganize your priorities and see, okay, are the banks really doing what they say they're doing? Do they have my best interest in mind, or do I need to run some numbers and really, really understand where I'm at? You got to understand. So for you, the guys and gals on the line who are thrilled about this, and again, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more to show you, but we are running out of time. So your next step is part 2. In part 2, what we're going to cover is some of the training. We're going to jump into some class. I'm going to show you, we're going to pull up a class by one of the attorneys who teaches for us on the tax and legal side. And what he's going to do is, when you come and watch part 2, is he's going to show you how to pay your kids and get a tax write-off for the things you were already buying for your kids, the clothes, the school lunches, the ballet lessons, and the football helmets, and the things that you're already paying for. We're going to show you how to get a tax write-off for that so that you have more money left over at the end of the month on the stuff you were already going to pay. Now, it's a pretty neat strategy. Okay, you're not going to find it pretty much anywhere, so pay attention, show up to that, and we'll dive in and we'll show you more what this is about. Also, if you return for part 2, your next step, I'm going to give you a free copy of my book. We want this in your hands so you can understand how to crawl out of the mess you found yourself in, or if you know other people that are in a mess, how to help them. Now, here's something we're giving away that people call us absolutely crazy that we're giving it away. We are giving away the value up front. We want to show you guys we're here to create value, to add value, to connect, to link arms, to build empires, to not just get out of debt, save a couple bucks. No. This is lifestyle change. This is we're no longer getting duped by the banks, by the finance companies, by the car companies, by Wall Street. No more. And you got to understand how to calculate. Remember how I told you at the beginning, most people don't know which one's more expensive, 21% or 6%, because they don't know how to calculate it. Well, this calculator was made by bankers. This calculator was made by people who all day, all they think about is banking and calculations. And so we've got them to make us a calculator specifically for you to attend. Because you attended, this is our gift to you. But you got to register for the next step in order to get this. This is like the pepperoni on the pizza, right? We're trying to give you the juiciest part. We want you to see and use this. You punch in your car, your student loan, your home loan. You punch in your grandma's student loan. You punch in your mom's house. This is what I did. I punched in my grandma's house and went, holy crap, Grandma, we could save you $107,000 in interest just off of you doing this velocity banking strategy and making the same money and spending the same money, just doing it differently. Grandma, we can save you 24 years on your mortgage and $107,000. So that's what we're doing for Grandma. I'm helping Mom with student loan. I'm helping uncles and aunts. This information is more than just how are you going to benefit? It's how is your family going to benefit? How is the people in your world going to be impacted by this information? This is incredible information, and we want to give that value up front. So register for part 2, and you will receive a digital copy of this calculator so you can start plugging in numbers and following along. We're also going to go into a 3-phase plan so that you know what steps to follow. This is easy. This is part-time, super part-time. Okay, the challenge is that the job mentality in the job world and the academic world, the 4-year college type world, makes people think that things take forever. And that, you got to spend 8 hours a day working and you got to spend 4 years to get educated. That's not the case. Because I'm now a full-time real estate investor, this is what I do with my family and with my team. I work a couple hours a week on this stuff. A couple hours a week, right? If it's a busy quarter, okay, maybe a couple hours a day. But we want to show you how to follow a plan so it's not consuming your time. You want your time back and you want to make more money. We get that. We got the same goals. So we got a plan for you to follow too, because it's not the employee mindset. If you try to plug in employee mindset to a schedule like this, it's unnecessary. So we're going to show you the plan so you save more time as well. I hope you had a lot of fun. I had some fun, but don't take this for granted. Too many people, they think, oh, well, I've seen this before. I've done that before. Or, they were paying half attention and just made assumptions. Don't take this for granted. Too often people will only value something once they lose it. Don't be like that. Writings on the wall. The banks don't care. Wall Street doesn't care. The IRS doesn't care. They're confiscating your money. They're taxing you. They're tricking you. And they're okay with it. But I'm not okay with it. My team's not okay with it. Our company, our organization's not okay with it. Your family's not okay with it. They just don't know anything better. They weren't on this video. You were. So you need to do something about it. You need to continue this investigation or share this link with someone. Get back on the phone with someone who sent you this video. Register for the next step. Come meet me. Come to one of our workshops. Get on the books. Get on the calls. We got an incredible thing going. But if you stay on that side of the fence, there's not much we can do to help you. If you continue this investigation, continue this inquiry, keep looking into it, you're going to absolutely amaze yourself. So you're going to go to the website, click on the link below, and get registered for step 2.